So basically, this whole part one, part two, part three really could have been done in one video. And I think I did complete everything that I wrote here in one video. But some wizard or some tech guru remotely in my phone decides to cut or edit the video at certain points. So I have to go over some things and then continue on my point. So now this is a part three of this series when it doesn't need to be a part three. Um, so basically, in part two, the question was, you know, while it was on the topic of Christopher Delgado and I, um, where we were basically a marital pair before God. And bear with me, I'm going to have interference with communication. So bear with me in some words. Um, so you may hear me say what I want to say or what I'm trying to say. Um, with these wizards interrupting or trying to override my speech. But basically, um, before God, we were already a marital pair, but our understanding or our mindset was of such that, hey, we don't have proof of marital love. So pretty much um, we're still like in this like dating mode, like how the culture would have dating, right? People are still talking. um the guy is still trying to think or ponder whether he would receive you or not or something like that. In the Western world, I believe that's how it's done to a great degree, especially in America. Um so um during this Christmas season of 2016, um, there was this way of how we can, like, give each other Christmas gifts, show each other love during the Christmas season by exchanging cakes. And I talked on a bit of the reason why that came about in part two. But um, so we're still in this mindset of this dating thing. And so I had this question and I asked it today. Why would Christopher Delgado, my God given spouse, why would he want to exchange cakes with me, do that with me, and have Simona on reserve in the back of his head at the same time? So I discussed how I was led to devil and Matthew 7:12. I discussed that in part two. And then I asked God, why was I led to devil? Then I was led to Job 28, verse 18, and I read verse 17. And so I understood, okay, he needed to walk in wisdom, and the adversary probably wasn't making him do that, right? So I asked, what is the wisdom he needed? And I'm led to John 5:24. And then that talks about, believing on God, right? And if you believe on God and you receive him, you would do his will. And so I pretty much understood why I was led to John 5:24 and what was required or what God would have wanted him to do at that point. But the wizards were like antagonizing me and asking me, you wanting me to ask God, I should say, um, to find out what was the will, right? Because these wizards are pro Simona, so they don't like me. They want the worst to happen to me. They cause my tooth to be broken, etc., etc. So they want me to be reproached, abused, an ugly woman, um, not even in my natural skin tone, and they just want me to be insulted and murdered and all these evil thoughts and that they have people to put me in adultery and fornication. So anyway, um, I didn't even bother to ask God because I'm like common sense. And um, and one of the things I think I was saying is like the wizard is talking like, I don't have common sense. So God, I kid you not, the Bible was closed, and Bear with me as I say this. The Bible was closed, and I just opened it. I wasn't even caring to see God or anything on the matter or what they wanted me to do. God heard them, and God rebuked them with Acts 7:29. And so I opened it and I saw, then fled Moses at the saying and was a stranger in the land of Midian where he begat two sons. So Moses, for whatever reason, you could read, fled to Midian and he started a family there, right? And so present day Midian is pretty much Saudi Arabia and basically parts of the neighboring countries surrounding Saudi Arabia, on the Arabian Peninsula, especially like Oman and the UAE, right? So, and I um, received Act 729 prior to doing this um, seeking of God today on this topic. Um, I within recent years I must have mentioned, I must have been asking God something, and then I said to God, "But God, I just wanted to experience marriage the way you you willed it, or just the way you want it, or the way God wants it, right?" And I was led to Acts 7:29, the same verse. So he brings this verse again and uses it and rebukes them. And so I shared in part two how, even prior to being led to Acts 7:29, I asked God if he wanted Christopher Delgado and I to have been in the UAE in 2017. And that I asked these, bear with me, I asked this question within recent years. And um, I was led to Second Corinthians 6, verse 2, and Second Kings 8. And the verses are 1 to 6. And the title above the verses, um, the title, what I want to say, I saw this title and it was The Shunammite Comes Home. So basically, the answer is he wanted us to be um, there. So, yes, the answer was pretty much yes, right? So, and then I touched, well, I guess this is the part that they were trying to cut out. So, the exchanging of the cakes, I believe that was done before Bishop Russell preached, "Get thee out of thy country and from thy kindred," in Genesis, from Genesis 12, in December of 2016 at a service, right? And I responded to the message, and I had my understanding at the time of, the message, and I went to the altar, responded to the altar call, said I would obey and all of that, and Pastor Francis prayed for me. However, Christopher Delgado and I didn't know that God was literally talking to us in that service. And one of the reasons probably why is because he was still in this double mindedness, like having Simona on reserve in the back of his head while talking to me, instead of like us being on it in the spirit and having the marital proof already, marital proof of love already. Um, so for God to, do that, and send this word here and send this word here and this word here, and then when you look at it, it all comes full circle and all comes together, right? um Basically, God would have wanted us out of the USA at that time. And um had we heard that message and really sought God together, because at that time what I learned is that before God we were a marital pair. But with the culture and the mindset and the grooming that we have, we would think, hey, nothing is really there yet because there's no proof of marital love. But if he had faith and was on it in the spirit as I mentioned in part one or part two, I believe, that I already brought up, let's go to the city hall or city courts, right? Um, we could have been together at his house at some point, and praying. And if we sought the Lord together, God would have revealed this to us, right? He would have let us known this. Um, so the message wasn't in vain, right? And it was a message to really take seriously and literally, especially since after the Christmas fellowship, because um, not after the Christmas fellowship, after the service, his mom told me to wait, but on that same day, Christopher, mm, bear with me, Christopher and I had an argument in the parking lot, right? But after the service, his mom told me to wait. And so we basically, um, you know, he could have had Simona on the back of his mind and preferred her. And then I'm just getting all this backlash like, where's this coming from? All this unnecessary, whatever it was. And so, what happened next was that the Christmas fellowship, Simona disrespected me, right? She reproached me or insulted me in some way, shape, or form, um, in some way, shape, or form in front of the children. Bear with me because these wizards are pro Simona and they don't like me. So basically, um, um, if we, after that message, and God revealed to us something, and we actually got on it or sought the Lord and more, and we actually had marital proof and whatever, I probably wouldn't have experienced such a level of disrespect at the Christmas fellowship. We probably wouldn't have been there. But consider the um, the UAE, and consider Saudi Arabia. They have guidelines that are really like um, against adultery. So Simona couldn't come up in the space and do that without consequences, jail time, or being beheaded, right? So there was a reason why God did that. So as God would order my steps or order our steps, it was of the Spirit for Bishop Russell to preach that, and then being led to Acts 7:29, and then Acts 7:29 to rebuke the adversary again. So putting it all together, um, this dating thing, look how God would be looking at Chris doing this, exchanging the cake with me. We would think, oh, it's just something sweet to do, and walking in love or sharing Christmas love, and little is much when God is in it, kind of thing. Um, but God is more like, no, Christopher should have been in the spirit, um, with me, and at a certain point, mentally concerning me, and we would have been like on it and out of it. Out of here is what I want to say. On it and out of here. um, because in the USA you have all sorts of people who know formulas and how to make people separate God-given couples, cause um, divorce and all sorts of hatred and all that kind of stuff. Put you in jail, all kind of stuff they'll do. Baker Act you, all sorts of stuff if they want to be with their a lover or adulterer or whatever. Um, so be aware of that. There's wizardry and sorcery, and they'll do all of that kind of stuff. So God was looking out for my soul and for his, for my mental health and for his. Um, so it wasn't a joking matter, right? People may think, hey, oh, it's just pretend play because of whatever. No. God is a serious God, and he was serious about us. And here am I still like, you know, in this position of waiting, and God is not wanting me to be in that position. God would have wanted us to be probably at a different level, um, on a marital note, right? Um, and we could have, Aunt Sislin could have came by, and we all could have been in the kitchen. Uh, well, that's how I'm like a Hallmark Christmas kind of person to some degree. Um, all in the kitchen, and doing this Jamaican black rum cake and stuff like that, instead of us, he's in one house and I'm in the other. So that's how God would look at us dating, still in this dating period, while God sees us as a marital pair, and we should have been like, been gone, done some stuff already, right? Um, been past that, or gone past that, I should say, right? That kind of level of thinking. So um, don't don't worry yourself to date. Seek God. Seek God until you have clarity, confirmation, assurance. Because if God says yes, you can one, two, three, make haste. Don't waste time. This wizard wants to say, don't make waste. Um, you could just walk. Once God tells you it's God's will, walk in it, right? Because if you don't, you give space for the adversary to come in, pelt you with game, pelt your wife or pelt your spouse with game pieces, and disrespect her, and then want all sorts of people to disrespect her, so that you won't even have desires for her. That's pretty much how they work mentally, right? Satan knows how to work on them, on people mentally, right? So, with that said, um, this is a part three, and basically, consider it. Um, seek the Lord, and God is watching. And sometimes we don't know things because we're not seeking God about it.